Hey, thank you very much. And it looks like only upside for me. So thank you for being here. And as they say in Monty Python, now for something completely different to what you've heard this evening. I'm sure that very few of you here have heard about diuretic resistant fluid overload. But I can almost guarantee that all of you have heard about heart failure, liver failure, kidney failure, and cancer. Having too much fluid in the body is a major problem of all of those diseases. And usually that's treated very simply with drugs called diuretics, diuretica, water pills. They've been around for 20, 30 years, they're cheap, they're well known, and they're pretty effective until they're not. And when they stop being effective, it's a major problem for the patients, for the doctors, for the hospitals, for the payers, and that is where we come in. The alternatives when diuretics don't work are pretty poor. They have major disadvantages. And that is why we are trying to innovate care, deliver a new standard of care which improves clinical outcomes, which improves quality of life, and reduces costs for hospitals and payers across the world. We have two products that we focus on. The first is the Alpha Pump, and our focus here is liver disease in the United States. This is an opportunity that we value at over 3 billion euros per year. Our clinical trial, our pivotal trial, the trial which is intended to deliver approval in the United States and Canada, is ongoing now, and we've reported very strong interim data that I'll talk about in a moment. We intend to commercialize that product ourselves through our own direct sales force in the United States. Our second product is Alpha Pump DSR, taking our Alpha Pump technology, but also adding in our proprietary DSR technology here. And this is focused on fluid overload in heart failure, which is also known as congestion. I'm sure many of you heard of congestive heart failure. This opportunity is even larger, estimated over 5 billion euros a year for us. So we're tapping into enormous markets here. Our clinical trial has been very successful in this area. We just reported very strong data on our Red Desert trial, and our Sahara trial is ongoing. And ultimately, we will not commercialize this ourselves. The market is so big and so dynamic, we will partner with a strategic player to effectively penetrate this market on a global basis. So first, let's talk about liver disease. And particularly within liver disease, we treat something called refractory ascites. That is a complication of liver cirrhosis. I'm sure many of you, when you think of liver cirrhosis, you think of alcohol, you think of viral hepatitis. But the market is changing. It is changing because obesity is here. Obesity creates liver cirrhosis exactly the same as alcohol does, but it does not have the social stigma. It is a mainstream middle-class disease. And that is what, so obesity, or what they call fatty liver disease, or NASH, is driving the market. It's going to become much, much bigger, but it's also going to be a social priority to treat those patients where it has not been before. Our patient is going from the 40-year-old male living by themselves, not socially active, to the 70-year-old grandparent with children, grandchildren, worked all their life with insurance. That is what's changing this market. It doesn't matter whether you damage it with alcohol or hepatitis or fat. Cirrhosis is the scarring of the liver. And when that happens, the blood that is being treated by the liver can't flow through the liver so easily, so the liver leaks. And it leaks a clear proteinous fluid out, and it collects in the belly about 1 litre a day. So imagine after 2 weeks, you've got 15 litres of fluid in your abdomen. You can't function, you can't walk, you can't sleep, you can't eat, you can't breathe, constipated, vomiting. After 2 weeks, you go to a hospital and they take a whole day to empty it. And then it starts again immediately. It doesn't change. That's the rest of your life. That treatment has not changed since the ancient Egyptians. That is what we are trying to change here. Our solution is very simple. You see it from George here. We just simply work with the body. We have an implanted pump. Here's the pump here. The pump is fitted under the skin. There's no external wires, there's no external tubes, and it just simply automatically and continuously pumps the fluid from the abdomen, put it into the bladder, you just simply urinate it away. This is now included in many treatment guidelines, and we've got tremendous experience. We've got over 850 of these systems implanted and hundreds of patient years of experience. Our trial is ongoing in the US to get approval. It's called the Poseidon trial. We reported data earlier this year as an interim analysis on the trial, and it was very, very strong results. We showed that we could reduce the rate of external drainage by over 90%. The FDA only wants 50%, so we're clearly exceeding that. Safety is in line with expectations, and we showed that we could rapidly and sustainably improve quality of life for these patients. And we're now on track to submit our filing for approval in the middle of 23. Our second product is focused on heart failure. You normally think of the heart failure patient clutching their chest or not able to walk down the street. That is not what puts heart failure patients in hospital. 90% of hospital admissions for heart failure are due to fluid overload. There are 1 million a year in the US, 90% for fluid overload, and the total cost is 13 billion. The problem is that when they go to hospital, most don't respond to the drugs, or many don't respond. An estimated 40% don't respond, and we see this because 1 in 4 are back in hospital within 30 days. It's an enormous problem for economies across the world. So we do a very similar, we leverage the system we had from liver, and we combine a second technology, our DSR technology. Very simply, we put a solution in the abdomen that pulls salt out of the body, out of the bloodstream, into that solution. Our little pump pumps that salt-rich solution to the bladder. Patient urinates the solution away. The body has now lost sodium. So the kidneys step in and get rid of the excess water to bring the body back into balance. But now the fluid has been reduced, the fluid overload is down, and that is simply what we do. We leverage all the work we've done from liver. Our fundamental patents have been granted, not filed, not under review, but granted in the US and Europe. So we have 20 years plus to exploit this technology in a very strong position here. We reported data earlier this year that showed in a trial of heart failure patients, we could effectively manage their fluid and their sodium balances over a 6-week period. Very nice. What was really impressive is we restored the ability of the kidney to manage this disease all by itself. These kidneys went back to normal in the way they treated sodium. And finally, we improved the health of the heart and the health of the kidney. We're now moving into the Sahara Desert trial, which will be reporting interim data before year end and top-line data in the second half of next year. This is in a sicker patient population, patients with excess fluid where we need to restore both the health of their heart and the kidneys and get rid of the fluid. Finally, we are supported by a strong group of investors, both Belgian institutional investors like PMV, SFPI, and Belfius Insurance, as well as experienced life sciences investors, Neomed, Life Science Partners, Newton, and Greg. So with that, right on time, thank you very much.